Holder of 17 tour titles from Chicago, Illinois, Carmen Salvino. His opponent in the first match is another veteran. He's won 6 titles, including twice here in Kansas City. From Charlotte, North Carolina, George Pappas. The winner of the first match will face our number 3 qualifier, who's seeking his first title on tour from Columbia, South Carolina, Jeff Bellinger. Our number 2 qualifier is enjoying one of the most consistent years ever on tour. He owns 4 PBA titles from Brooklyn, New York, Joe Berardi. And the tournament leader, who's led this tournament the last 3 rounds this week and holder of 3 PBA victories from Windsor Locks, Connecticut, Pete Couture.
You know, I'm going to Kansas City. Kansas City, here I come.
Yes, the King Louie Lanes hosting the best bowlers in the world all week long, and we're down to the finals now. And we welcome you to the rolling hills of Kansas. I'm Chris Schenkel with Nelson Burton Jr. And, Bo, we have quite a mixture in this field of 5 today.
Chris, one of the best fields we've had with experience. We have Carmen Salvino, who's been around for a long time, 47 years old. If he wins the first game, he could be very tough. You go through the line, Joe Berardi looks stronger than I've ever seen him. And another factor that is always here at King Louie is possible very high scores. Who can forget in 1975 when Mark Ross shot the 299 game on this pair of lanes? Go back to 1972, Larry Lobb set our championship round record with a 255 average for 4 games, and yet we've seen some low scores, so it can go both ways. If the players get hot, they can choose something sensational.
A little bit earlier, Bo had an opportunity to talk to the native from Chicago, Carmen Salvino. Let's watch and listen.
Carmen Salvino, one of the greatest bowlers of all time. In fact, he's a charter member of the PBA and won his first major championship in 1953. Carmen, what's the secret of your longevity in the game of professional bowling?
Well, Bo, when I first learned to bowl, all the players bowled by an art. And today it's a game of science. There's different equipment. And I've been fortunate. I've been able to make the change into science. Plus, I've got the art of throwing different shots, what really helps me out here.
How about physical conditioning, Carmen? Has that had a great part in your game?
Yes, Bo, but I can't say it's only physical conditioning. It's mental, too. I've been able to adapt to all the conditions mentally as well as physically.
Okay, thank you, Carmen. Good luck.
All right, that was Carmen Salvino, who will be in the very first match in our live telecast. His opponent on the left, 35-year-old George Pappas, twice champion, right here at King Louie. Shooting first in the number 5 position, Carmen Salvino, 48, 6'2", 188 pounds. Watch his style. And he gets them all. Carmen Salvino. Now George Pappas, 5'9", 135 pounds. High hit leaving the 3-6-10 on the right lane of this championship pair, where George averaged 219, Carmen 191.
Chris, 32 lanes here at King Louie, and we're in Overland Park, west of Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas. 19 and 20, the right-hand lane hooks a little more. Pappas went high on his first shot.
Cross lane. All right. So we have a strike by Salvino and a spare by George Pappas, and he'll be ready to shoot in the second frame as we look at the purse breakdown. 16,000 to the winner this afternoon. 9 runner-up, third 6,000, fourth 5, and 4,500 for the loser of this first game that has just gotten underway. And shooting in the second frame, Pappas spare working. Again, a little bit high.
Both these lanes are not slick, but I mean that the ball will not slide too much. You have to keep the speed and the loft up. Pappas cut through on his second shot, tripped the 4 out, left the 9. Across lane, easy shot for a top pro.
Qualified for the championship round for the first time in his career in the 1970 King Louie Open. Pair of spares for George Pappas from Charlotte, North Carolina. One of the many great bowlers to have come out of Chicago, Illinois, Carmen Salvino. Strike up. I'll go home and polish my bowling ball. Carmen said he polished his.
Well, Carmen, technician in the game of bowling, he had an option of using 2 bowling balls out there today. One that he had sanded the surface of if the lanes were very slick, and one that was brand new and he polished up to make it slide a little farther. So you're not going to see Carmen playing much hook at all in the lanes today, down and in, straight towards the pocket.
Can he make it 3 in a row? He opened with a strike on this left lane. 3rd frame. Gratefully bowing to the 10 pins. Well, if he keeps doing that, we're liable to have him running all over these 32 approaches, Bo.
Chris, he picked that bow up in Japan. He spent a lot of years bowling in Japan, the 60s and 70s. They loved him over there, and he still carries that tradition with him.
3rd frame, spare up for George Pappas. George Pappas, whose highest finish was 20th at the Long Island Open this year. Off to a slow start. Watch this replay.
Same shot for both players. Watch the 2-pin go to the sideboard, knock out the 4 and the 7. Same shot that Salvino got in the 3rd. Pappas got in the 3rd frame also. The pins today, Chris, 3-pound 5-ounce, 3-pound 6-ounce pins, just about average weight.
Storms have passed through the Kansas City area, being felt farther east. So with a 4-7 standing, and though yesterday was a tough day to get into Kansas City.
Definitely was. Many of our crews, such as Frank Esposito flying from New York, had to stop in St. Louis and be bussed up here. So the bad weather is over with, and the hot temperatures are starting to come, and they're starting right here on the lanes today.
Now Frank knows how the rest of us live. Okay, nice spare. George Pappas, that coming in the 4th frame of our very first game. The winner of this will meet Jeff Bellinger. Old 3-year-old thoroughbreds, Bo, in the Florida Derby. Blanked out in the Miami and West Palm Beach areas, but give us your pick.
Chris, you know, I went with Timely Rider before when they had the race, but I go for Star Gallant. I think he's ready to win, and I think he'll pay some good money.
All right. There goes the mortgage. Carmen Salvino with a 21-pin lead by virtue of 3 in a row. Now the 4th frame. First game. Sliding by. And he is applauded for the string, and let's watch the replay.
The strength of Salvino came through. Most players would get a 2-4-5 on this hit because his arm got away from his body, but with his strength, he eased it up to the pocket, got the head pin to the sideboard, and knocked out the 2-4. Easy spare.
So the 5-pin is gone on the right line. Carmen Salvino. Among his titles, as you see, a 20-pin lead. He's the 1962 PBA national champion. Chicago match game champion a couple of times. That was a tough ordeal.
That's even back when they had the old All-Star there, and he won the national doubles with Joe Willman back in the early 50s. Carmen's been around a few years, a great champ.
Don't let that deadpan facial expression fool you. He's one of the funniest guys around.
You can watch the 2 players we have out there today, Chris. They are the type of players that we use to teach with. These players have solid foundation games. They're playing normal angles with a normal amount of hook. These players will be around for a long time. This is what you want to learn.
Well, he left the 10-pin on the right lane. Though many of you I know go out and do exhibitions to delight people in various sectional and regional areas, George does a good job doing that.
Yes, he does, Chris. And another charity thing George does is when he bowls the Pro-Am event previous to the regular tournament, when he cashes, he donates all that money that he wins to charity.
Don't play him in billiards either. So, from Charlotte, North Carolina, George Pappas. Nelson talked to George earlier.
I started this year off slow, Bo, because the long wall pattern really hurt my game. I went home, I did some practicing, came to Kansas City. The oil pattern was shortened, and the practice along with the short oil enabled me to make the TV show this week.
Chris, what George is talking about is they were oiling the lanes much heavier at the beginning of the year. He didn't like that. He likes his ball to hook a little more where he can throw hard.
Another 10-pen for the man who was talking about his slow start. Well, he has 6 titles in 13 years as a PBA member, and he's been an officer of the PBA too, Bo.
Current PBA president. That's a 2-year term. He's finishing out his 2nd year. Has done an excellent job.
Missed the 10 on the left lane. It is an open frame.
George just let it slide by. Remember, use a little more speed, throw it a little harder at the single pin spares. George just lost that ball, never gave it a chance. Salvino's in the driver's seat, could take a 45-pin lead with 1 more strike.
Opened with 3, a spare, and now a strike working. And he does a rotating of the right arm, cranking it up. Carmen Salvino, 48 years old.
A style that has lasted over 30 years of top professional bowling. Carmen Salvino, very strong upper body, tremendously strong forearms and hands. Look how he follows through directly towards the target. When you see a player start with his follow through directly towards the target, that means he's loose and red hot. Those last 2 shots were great by Salvino.
Oh, he held his face. He knew that that shot had gotten away, coming up high, leaving the 6-10.
By comparison, he fanned the ball. He followed through to the right. When he followed through the right, he goes left. Tommy Lasko, who was defeated by Salvino in the 42nd game last night, having a great year, 6th place today.
Salvino with the 5-step. Okay, got him both. Now, Rolaids tip of the week this week is a study of the 4- and 5-step approaches. Okay, we're going to take a break. Salvino leading by 4. Today, though, we're in the rolling hills of Overland Park, Kansas. Beautiful day. George Pappas is meeting a Tiger and 48-year-old Carmen Salvino. George now shooting in the 7th frame. After an open frame. So the 1979 Firestone Tournament of Champion, that was his last victory, comes through with a beauty.
Best shot of the match, straight through, Chris, down and in, solid in the pocket. The good form of George Pappas. Watch his shoulders, watch his left arm, how it stays right even with his shoulders. Good solid follow through, up high, good extension. By far his best shot of the match.
Money earned, George stands 12th with nearly $500,000. Salvino 10th with $489,000 in a career. Two-time winner right here, George Pappas, a double.
He stayed right in the match with that shot. He has a possible 226. Salvino going at a 227 pace. 3 tough frames left.
Salvino did a little nudging for that one. It worked.
Good strike for Carmen because it kept him ahead on the count. Salvino with a 7 count up. Pappas with a 6 count up.
The winner of this game will meet Jeff Bellinger, then Joe Berardi from Brooklyn, and the tournament leader would be up next, Pete Couture. Last one in that foundation frame. Watch the reaction.
What Salvino did with that strike is put Pappas in a must-strike situation. If George is going to win the match, he has to strike on this ball.
And he does just that. From Charlotte, North Carolina, today we have 2 Carolinians. The winner, Jeff Bellinger, the winner will meet him, is from Columbia, South Carolina. So it's been good news for Carolina recently.
In more sports than one. Salvino working at a 2:30 pace. If Pappas would strike out, would force Salvino to mark. George, possible 226.
Aren't these professionals machine-like? Another strike.
All the strikes solid in the pocket. Pappas just working right on him just like a surgeon. 10 pins in the pit. With another strike, he'll now force Salvino to mark.
Finishing strong.
Boy, Pappas will look back to the 6th frame where he missed the 10 pin. It would be a tied match right now if Pappas had made the 10 pin in the 6th frame, but he's put himself in a position to still win the match. Salvino must mark.
Charlotte, North Carolina, Pappas, a 226. Now he needs to mark. And, oh, he'll be faced with the bucket.
It's not all over, Chris. He must make this spare and get another good count. Salvino going at a 2:33 pace if he spares. If he doesn't, he loses the match. The ball wide, a little extra speed. He didn't want to go high. Let's see what he does on the spare.
And indicating the heartbeat. Now he needs 4.
See him use all that upper body strength on that shot. He didn't take any chance. He used a tremendous strength. Just muscled the spare in there. Needs 4 pins. He'll go on to meet Jeff Bellinger, another powerful player.
Okay, got 8, leading 310. It's a 231, a 5-pin victory. Coming up next, Carmen Salvino with 7 strikes, defeating George Pappas 231 to 226. And now another Carolinian. This one from Columbia, South Carolina. Salvino going against 28-year-old Jeff Bellinger. The 210 average on this championship pair. Let's look at this 210-pounder. Son of a United States Air Force pilot way back. And Bo, his dad flew the most beautiful airplane, a P-51.
Well, they still fly some of those out in Reno.
That's like the 51 strafed in the Philippines. Okay. And that should relieve the tension.
He came to play on that shot. He sawed that 5 out, spliced the 6, the 6 tomahawk, the 10. He's ready.
Now the winner of the first game, 231, 226. And Mr. Salvino from Chicago, who opened with 3, gets one here. First frame, second game. The winner to meet, Joe Berardi, and then Pete Couture.
Salvino's strategy right now is to get this double very quickly. Put pressure on the newcomer out there. The inexperienced player is a little more nervous. Salvino's relaxed. This is a key shot. Salvino, lean on it.
He likes it. Watch the release.
Watch one of the great wrist actions in the game of bowling. Watch this hand position as it comes through in the bottom of your screen. See those fingers right around the side of the ball, the wrist snapping up through it. lifted out onto the lane, and that was an excellent shot. Put him in great position.
What a camera angle. Now Bellinger, strike in the first, second frame now. Oh, he jumped over the return, running it out. So, Jeff Bellinger, his first time in the championship round, and he has a double.
Chris, in all the years that we've sat here, I've never seen a player with no championship round experience come out and throw the two balls, this very first two balls, that aggressively and that well.
You know, last week he was 9th in the Miller High Life Open. His best ever, 6th in the Columbia 300 Open in Cleveland in 1981.
He's a hoss and a half out there, I'll tell you.
On his knees at the line, leaving the 10 as we get a better look at his style.
Watch the short backswing. Look at the powerful upper arms and forearms over his short backswing. He maximizes his body strength, gets underneath it with those powerful legs, and comes right up underneath the ball and shovels it out on the lane. Excellent style, good direction.
Former student at the University of South Carolina, Jeff Bellinger. With a lot of confidence, marking with a spare after opening with a double, putting some pressure. And his wife Phyllis and his mom Nancy watching. Here's Carmen Salvino now. Double up, shooting in the third. Hard to write a caption on that picture.
2-pin to the sideboard, 4 into the 9. What a great break for Salvino to open up 11-pin lead, and watch the reaction. He jumps straight up in the air.
And now his reaction. An Arnold Palmer hitch of the slacks, and then a Nicklaus leap. All right, now he moves over to the left lane. 3-bagger, 4th frame. One better than his first game. 4 in a row. Carmen Salvino, 48 years old, against 28-year-old Jeff Bellinger. Jeff Bellinger. He has a spare working, shooting in the 4th after opening with the double. Salvino has 4 in a row. No break. Look at that wobbly 4.
I'm not surprised at the way Bellinger's bowling. He was kind of an unknown quantity out there, but he is unbelievable when he gets it going. He shot so many big games in the last 2 weeks. At one time, he was leading the Miller High Life Open last week. At one time, he was leading this tournament.
As a collegian, represented the U.S. in the World Cup as a bowler. Finishing 6th in Bogota, Colombia. Earlier we asked Bellinger about 2 mediocre years on tour.
Well, I've had 2 years of just kind of mediocre success, but going into this year, I kind of changed my attitude after I missed the cash in New York by 2 pins and decided to try to be a little bit more aggressive and shoot the big games. And I think it's helped me in the last 2 weeks. I've managed to lead the qualifying 3 of the 6 rounds and shoot a lot of big games.
Chris, in the Miller High Life Open, he shot 15.55 for 6. That's 355 over 200 average. That's tremendous.
Well, he got all of them. You see what I mean as we watch once more.
No doubt. Cuts right through, drives them all straight back. Powerful shot.
Now, Salvino carefully sets himself on the approach. The ball hanging low. 5th frame. No 7-pin. So he keeps improving with each game.
Salvino rolled his wrist on this one. An excellent shot, but watch how the 5-pin gets stopped. He hits it there. There's the 5-pin. It's driving over towards the 7. The head pin went to the sideboard, knocked the 4 back into it. A bad break.
And checking his slide near the line. Felt he stuck a little bit, but nevertheless marked with a spare in the fifth, leading by 21. This is the second game. Salvino Bellinger, the winner to meet Joe Berardi, and then in the final game, our tournament leader, Pete Couture. Look at that first title way back in 1961. 24-year member of the PBA, charter member. Though it's like you said, if he gets rolling, it's tough to eliminate.
He's stroking, Chris, and there's for two reasons. Number one is experience, and number two, physical conditioning. Salvino, at age of 48, is in tremendous physical condition. He can go the distance.
What do you say? Many a good tune is played on an old violin.
Well, his violin isn't too old, but he's playing a good tune right now.
Unfortunate high hit. 4, 6, 7, 10. Tough break for the first time on national television. Jeff Bellinger.
Salvino pushing Bellinger. Bellinger raised up on the ball. He needed that strike. Cuts right through, and as the players call it, big tonk. 4, 6, 7, 10. He'll just sling it as hard as he can and hope for a rebound.
Boy, did he throw it hard. So it's an open frame in the sixth for Bellinger. Salvino leading by 35. He'll move to that left side. Disgusted.
Well, Chris, really, he started with a good double, left a 10-pin, left a 4-pin, got a strike. If he carries the two strikes in the third and the fourth, he'd have been right in the match. But right now he trails by 35, has to get it started again.
There you go. Shows you a touch of class, an open frame, and coming back with a strike, the winner of a regional title in Leesburg, Florida. Back for more of the second game in a moment. All right, we're back again at the King Louie Lanes, Overland Park, Kansas. What a pretty area. Prairie Village, Shawnee Mission. A lot to offer. Underrated Kansas City area, believe me. Never underrated is Carmen Salvino, longtime champion. He opened with 4, marked with a spare, strike in the 6th, now shooting in the 7th. 3, 6, 9 for Salvino. Imagine the number of times that Carmen has shot spares, and the odds for a professional, 3-2. Here it is. Ooh. 9-pin, it's an open frame. Replaying it. Ball just did not go where he wanted. It didn't come up high enough, and takes out the 3-6, leaves the 9. Well, man with a problem on his hand is with Bo Burton right now.
Thank you, Chris. Joe Berardi last week was in the 42nd game. He split his hand wide open. Joe, how's it this week?
Well, it's holding together this week. I'm using a lot of new skin and cotton, and fortunately it held up to where I can make the show today.
Joe, what happens if it breaks open while you're out there in the championship round?
Well, vying for a title, I'm just going to have to grin and bear it and bowl the best I can.
It could break open, Chris, but this man is tough. We'll see what happens in about 10 minutes.
Ah, the Brooklyn boy. The Chicago man. Shooting in the 8th frame, left the 3-6 on the left lane, Salvino. There was no 9 that time, but boy, he played it awfully close. Carmen Salvino, Rolaids tip this week, concentrates on a look at the 4- and 5-step deliveries.
Important shot for Bellinger to get back in the match. 8th frame, he trails by 23 pins, has a strike working, can cut the lead to 13. The match is a long way from over.
And now Salvino leads by only 13. 8th frame, strike and a double for Jeff Bellinger of Columbia, South Carolina.
Chris, Bellinger came to play. Have you ever seen a young man so aggressive in his first championship round with such power and trust?
wife and mother flying in when they found out last night that he made the televised finals. Get great support from those families, Nelson.
Yes, you do. And when you have that big paycheck coming in like he's having this week, you can afford to have them all come in.
Okay.
Right now he can cut the lead to just 3 pins with a strike and a ninth.
Crossed over on him. Leaving the 3-pin is Joe Berardi, who will meet the winner of this match, keeps warming up. Here's the reaction.
Look at his face. He knew he quit on it. He's hoping for a crossover. He just did not extend through that shot like he had on the other shots. Wasn't aggressive enough. The ball started breaking too sharply, too quickly. Cross lane, 3-pin.
Okay. Marking with a spare in the 9th frame of our second game. What action today? A lot of it provided by this man who opened with 3 in a row in the first game, opened with 4 in a row in the second. First game he had 7 strikes for his 231 to Pappas's 226. Big strike, foundation frame, Carmen Salvino.
Salvino, as he comes up in a 10th frame, needs a spare in 7 or a strike on his first ball, and he's the winner. Will go against Joe Berardi. But if he happens to open or get a bad count, Bellinger's still in it.
What a performance by 48-year-old Carmen Salvino.
Crowd oohing and awing off the side. Joe Berardi warming up for the next match, just slung one out into the moat there for a 0 count.
Get them all but the 6-pin, and Carmen Salvino is going to beat 27-year-old Joe Berardi in that pivotal semifinal match here in the King Louie Open. This to Jeff Bellinger's 212. So it's Salvino now that moves into the semifinal against 27-year-old Joe Berardi of Brooklyn, New York. Okay, today the Rolaids tip of the week is about the 4- and 5-step deliveries on the approach. You learn a lot. So watch and listen to Nelson Burton Jr. Here it is.
The Professional Bowling Tip of the Week is brought to you by Rolaids.
The decision whether to use a 4- or 5-step delivery is entirely up to you. Now I'm going to show you the proper starting position for your 4- or 5-step delivery. Turn your back to the foul line, take 4 brisk steps away from the foul line, allowing a half a step for the slide. Now you're in position for the 4-step delivery. If you don't have success with the 4-step delivery, add an additional step. Now you're in position for the 5-step delivery. The 4-step delivery is the basic approach that all players should learn. It is the most natural and comfortable, and is also the foundation for proper timing, arm swing, and finish at the foul line. In the starting position of the 4-step delivery, the weight is on the right foot. The first step is simultaneous with the push away. The second and third steps should be natural steps. And the final step ends with the slide to the foul line. The 5-step delivery is often used by many of the pros we see on television today. The presence of an additional step requires the player to start farther back on the approach, but the stride remains the same.
The Dallas Morning News, 3 a.m. You know this crew gets...
The Missouri River. Match 3, and Carmen Salvino has won 2 games, the first 231 to 226. Just eliminated Jeff Bellinger, 226 to 212. 7 strikes in both games. Leaving the 10-pin on the left lane.
The first solid tap we've seen today. Pappas left a half 10 where he wasn't quite up in the 1-3 pocket deep enough. Salvino laid it right in there on the 17th board. Solid 10, 6 flying around. Now watch how he shoots the spares cross lane. He'll kill the ball. You'll hear it hit the thumb hole and go straight through it. Great lesson to learn from Salvino on these shots.
Well,
I don't know what to
he
say.
gambled with that one, didn't he?
Not really. He just made a mistake. Salvino, a great spare
boy.
shooter, normally hits the thumb hole when he makes his spares. That time he didn't hit the thumb hole, and it slid by.
So the man that's been consistent, an open frame, 9 pins. Now, first shot by Berardi. Joe's first championship round appearance of the year. His best finish was 8th last week.
Another great all-around style. This young man's going to be around as long as he wants to be. He's wiry, he's strong, he's developed an excellent style, powerful lift and through the ball. You see that wrist roll underneath the ball. Look at that foot perpendicular to the foul line. Look out for this young man.
Good athlete. Left lane, second frame. Joe Berardi coming out of the wings, averaging 215 on this championship pair, going against Carmen Salvino, who left a 10 pin in the first frame. Let's see how he recovers. 231, 226 before. No, it didn't come up, leaving the 2-5.
Carmen looking down at his feet to see where his foot was. He just slid by. Breaks down to 2-4-5. This is a shot he needed to win the first match, but see the head pin go to the sideboard, knock out the 4 and 8. Makes it a lot easier without that 8-pin double wood in there.
Now he must concentrate as he did in the first 2 games. Spare in the second frame for Carmen Salvino, who is bowling Joe Berardi of Brooklyn, 27 years old. There's that hand.
He's got a callus break open right there in the palm of his hand underneath his index finger, Chris, and that's a callus that only really power players get. You'll see Roth get it, you'll see Holman get it, the great Don Carter used to get it there, right there, so the ball, hands inside the ball.
Carmen coming up high. 4, 6, 7.
Just lost it at the line, 4, 6, 7, 10, wide open. Salvino will have to throw real hard at the 4, 7, hoping he can bounce it out of the pit.
Odds for a professional, 1,500 to 1. So in 3 frames for Carmen Salvino, who won the first 2 games, 2 open frames, 35 through 3. Berardi with a double up, shooting in the 3rd. Nelson, this is a game that'll give you gray hair.
It sure will, but Berardi's taking a little extra time, making sure that patch over that open wound is well dried before he throws the ball. He doesn't want it to slide off.
Good mixing shot. 3-bagger for Joe Berardi.
Got a good break with that shot. He went to the sideboard with the head pin and drove out the 2, 4, and 5 all the way across the lane. He's opened up a big lead over Salvino. Knowing this young man for a number of years. In fact, when he was 18 years old, he went with an exhibition upstate New York in a charity cancer fund, and he was well liked then, and he's well liked by all his fellow players today.
Leaving the 10 pin, the 27-year-old who was defeated by Mark Roth in the 78 King Louie championship.
Now you'll see the solid 10. Watch the 6 pin, the second pin on the right-hand part of your screen. Now see, it never touches into the channel or anything. It just flies around the 10. That's just part of the game. When one ground object hits another one, it can't do the same thing twice.
Lots of speed. Incidentally, Mark Roth finished 10th and Marshall Holman 9th in the King Louie Open. We're in the 3rd 3, and then with 4 in the second game, Salvino going against Joe Berardi, former U.S. Open champion.
Salvino, with his experience, knows that Berardi is bowling very well, and also 44 pins behind is a big number. He'll have to attack. He just can't lay back. He'll attack the rest of the game to try to close down that 44-pin lead.
He was hoping to get the 4 tripped out. Did not on the left lane.
And that's what happens when you really try to catch up. He forced it a little bit, snapped that wrist a little harder. If he had hit light, it would have been fine. But when you got the good power going, sometimes it's hard to trip the 4 out.
First game, Salvino beat Pappas, 231, 226. as Carmen marks with a spare in the 5th frame. Carmen defeated Jeff Bellinger 226 to 212. Now Berardi opened with 3, marked with a spare in the 4th. This is the 5th frame. Man that has earned $50,000 or more on the tour for 3 straight years. Shots like that made it possible. Lean and mean, Joe Berardi. We asked him why he's in such good shape this year.
I'm in such great shape this year because I've been taking a little better care of myself. I'm trying to cut down on my smoking. I'm getting a lot more rest, and I'm taking my bowling a lot more seriously. Now that I have a family on the way in August, I'm really out here to bowl and win, and I want everybody to make sure they know about it.
All right, he and Debbie Berardi expecting. Okay. Powerful double unfolding here in Overland Park, Kansas. At a big pro-am here, 768 bowlers. Strike in the 6th frame for Carmen Salvino, and he needs it.
Oh, Carmen reacting to that one. Watch the 2-pin. That's the 3rd pin on the left-hand part of your screen. Go to the sideboard. See it hit on the sideboard. Twist between the 4-7. Good break, but when you got a good ball, you get the good breaks.
7th.
Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. More pin action. And the double. Very important to Salvino, going against tough Joey Berardi in the semifinal match. More of it after this. Collegiate swimmers and divers.
Chris, Texas defending champion, but I'll go with UCLA this year. I think they're ready to unseat the former national champion Texas.
All right. Berardi. Double working, 7th frame. Picture shot. 10 handicap golfer leading by 54 pins.
See the difference in maturity in Berardi. His appearance here in the King Louie Open Final in 1978, he was all over the lane. He was light, he was high. He won a few matches that were fortuitous, to say the least, but now with that experience, strength, and confidence, he looks sensational out there.
Strikes like that, thus far he has earned $10,230. He and Salvino, as we look at Joey's release.
Watch the wrist action, the good, strong wrist action. Fingers behind the ball, see them lifting up around in the side right after the thumb comes out of the ball. That's how you get the powerful lift and hook. Right between the 2nd, 3rd arrows is line.
And Salvino now puts 3 in a row. Remember, he had 2 open frames early.
Carmen in a must-strike situation still has a possible 225. Force Berardi to perform well in the 9th or 10th frames.
17 PBA titles. Leaving the 4-7. Figured he might have a split. Berardi gets a smile out of the actions of Salvino.
2 Italian boys. At least they keep it in the family. 2 good friends.
And the winner of this match will meet Pete Couture. Never a dull moment with Carmen Salvino. And the crowds that you're watching applaud have been coming in all week here at the King Louie Lanes. They are a tremendous group of Midwestern folks. And isn't Joe Berardi something?
One thing I've really noticed with the experienced players we've had out there today, Chris, they don't fiddle around. They get up on the approach and they bowl. You notice how some weeks we sit here and watch and wait for him to get there. Look at Berardi. He's up there, grabs the ball. He's ready to go. He's not messing around. If you don't know what you're doing or going to do before you get up there, you're not going to figure it out in a few seconds on the approach. He's ready to go.
Leaving a 4. And he acknowledges the applause from the fans here after stringing 3, 4, make it.
Spare and strike would be 258.
So Joe Berardi now has a shot at the $16,000 first prize. Coming up, Berardi versus Pete Couture. Professional Bowlers Tour will continue after this message from one of our sponsors and station identification. And here in this Midwestern area, Joe Berardi, 253, 192. Joe with 10 strikes will meet Couture. Bo?
Chris, the stats for the turn, we had a great Pro-Am, 768 players. I got to bowl with Ken Kramer, nose tackle for the Chiefs here. He's a great man, and he had a great time. And also, look at the purse, $110,000. A small field, 128 players. Cash, 42nd place, 209. Top 24, 212. And some of the other finishes, Lasco, Hannah's back in. Alvin Liu looking better. Holman had 300 this week. Roth had a bad finish. He dropped down the last day. Gonzalez steady. Houston had got the flu and fell down. Mike Miller improving every single week. Chuck Tapp still re-racking. Mike Moniak coming on fast. Marin 278 to make the top 24. Bruce Carter, watch him. Odom making it in there. Steve Westberg, a lefty. Fernandez steady, looking much better. Mattingly up and down all week. Donahue here twice in a row. A local Prater. Randy Lightfoot, who just announced his marriage in May, dropped to 24th place. And here's some of the leading money winners. Look at Earl Anthony so far, Chris.
Yeah, and Art Trask is having a good year, and Tapp and Pete Weber, youngest of them all. Mal Acosta. They're up beyond the $30,000 mark, and the 10th standing bowler, Bob Handley, with $28,740. $16,000 now at stake in this final one-game match. On the Professional Bowlers Tour, it is Pete Couture coming in from the right, striped shirt, going against Joe Berardi, who was sensational in that third match, defeating Carmen Salvino 253 to 192.
Two players that have met each other many times, even before they came on the tour, both from the northeast part of the country, many times have met in local tournaments and match play.
Leaving the 4-pin, Joe Berardi had 8 strikes in that semifinal game and a victory.
The key for Berardi, keep the speed up. Last night he made a charge for the lead of Couture's. He bowled a great game in the 41st round, then slowed down the 42nd round and bowled a bad game.
All right, marking with a spare. And now a look at 36-year-old Pete Couture from Windsor Locks, Connecticut, where 2 weeks from now we'll be televising finals of the PBT. He's 5'8", 140 pounds. You may remember he finished second to Steve Cook in last year's Firestone Tournament of Champions. That was a tournament leader strike.
Whew, you see experience there. He just came out slinging. He wasn't going to baby it down there. $16,000 at stake. He knows Berardi is tough. You're not going to back into this match. You're going to have to take it.
His last win was in the 1980 Syracuse Open. Late pinfall on the 10-pin.
Woo! Now here's what we call tomahawking the 10. Watch the 6-pin lay in the channel and just lay right on top of that 10-pin. Great break. Normally you leave the half 10 on this. Takes an early lead.
Okay. Now Berardi. Marked with a spare. Second frame. Another 4-pin. For Joe Berardi, who shot that 253 to Salvino's 192. And if you just joined us, Salvino won the first 231, 226.
We've seen just about a standard shot for all the players, Chris. Right between the second, third arrow, and they're just playing the track. Needs a little more speed.
Nearly foul. Stuck at the line, Joe Berardi with 2 spares. Salvino, whom Joe eliminated in the semifinal game, 226 to 212 in Salvino's second game against Jeff Bellinger of Columbia, South Carolina.
Berardi's strategy that he told me before the championship round, Chris, was simply just a matter of throwing a little bit harder when he starts going high. He's not going to make any moves in the lane, just increase the speed.
Oh, the 4-6.
Definitely slowed down. That's the same thing that happened to him last night in his match against Couture. Cut right through. The 4-6 has opened the door for Pete Couture. Now, Berardi could have gotten a little better break on that and broke up one of the pins, but he has a tough shot.
All out, Joe Berardi of Brooklyn, New York. Couture, who opened with a double, now out to a 25-pin lead, shooting in the third frame. Pete on this pair, championship pair, averaged 237. Three in a row.
Couture jumping right on top of that open by Berardi. A style much like we've seen all 5 players today. Very methodical, by the book, everything in good position. Berardi, Couture going straight through the shot. That's an excellent shot. That's why you get the good breaks. If you make the good arm swing, follow through towards the target, you keep the ball in play.
Now, that's opening was 4 in a row. Pete Couture of Windsor Locks, Connecticut. Son of Berardi, trailing by 45. Now coming back, he hopes, after an open. And he does it. He had 8 strikes in his match against Carmen Salvino, which he won 253 to 192. And then, if you joined us late, in the previous match, it was Salvino over Jeff Bellinger, 226 to 212. In the first match, Salvino, 231, George Pappas, 226. Look at that, cashed in 9 of 11 tournaments this year. Last year, the best cashing percentage. In the money, 24 of 27. Joe Berardi.
That's what Joe needed. He just ripped him apart in the 4th and then tripped the 2-pin into the 4-7 in the 5th, and now he's back in the match. He's got his confidence back. Couture still has 4 in a row, though. Has been perfect so far.
And Couture. There's something, as a tournament leader, we asked him the advantages and disadvantages of being the top-seeded bowler.
Well, the leader is definitely at a disadvantage. For one thing, he hasn't bowled on a TV pair in over an hour, and his opponent is coming off a win, and he's all lined up on a pair, so the leader has a little disadvantage. But the important thing about being a leader is that I'm guaranteed to bowl for the title. Nobody else has that guarantee, so I'll take my chances.
Good attitude.
Good thinking. And in this economy, 6 in a row. Boy, I tell you, you have to accept the pressure. 16.
Great shot.
Remember, the winner of a 1-game head-to-head match, 16,000. Loser or runner-up, 9,000. Berardi with 3 in a row. Profile look.
Joe Berardi gets the ball in a really good, solid position. Watch the position of the shoulders up and the arm swing just above the level. Now watch it right by his foot and then the wrist action, and the result of that shot was just 10 pins in the pit. Don't give up on this young man, Chris. A tough young cookie. He still has 255 if he goes out. That's a lot of score to beat.
Opened with 2 spares, open frame, and now has strung 4 and cut the lead to 35. Couture is up, shooting in the 7th frame with 6 in a row.
Although Pete has a big lead, he can't start getting protective of that lead, even though he has that lead. Berardi is great from behind.
So this 140-pounder string ends at 6, but now on the right lane. He has the 4, 6, 7, 9, 10.
The odds for pro 25-1, but we have a new match.
Well, what about the loss of wood?
Good point, Chris, because Berardi had a 5-pin count. You figure when a player is going to come off, such as Couture, he's going to get 7, 8, or 9 count and still force Berardi to get another strike to catch up. But with that very short count, now he has 171 in the 7th frame. He's opened the door where Berardi only needs 2 more strikes to take the lead.
Tournament leader, leading the last 3 rounds. Lead cut to 16. 8th frame. All right. Look at his release.
Couture behind the ball, just a medium turn. He'll play between the 2nd, 3rd arrows. You can see right there on your screen. See the hand rotating counterclockwise around it. Playing in the track area or just inside the 2nd arrow. Perfect shot, Pete Couture.
Pete Engelhardt and Bob Lanning, our director, coming up with that angle with that camera.
It's
nice.
Very explanatory.
All right. Berardi has a 4-bagger shooting in the 8th. Berardi at homer looking, trails by 6, can take the lead on the next shot in the 9th frame.
Berardi in the 4th frame of this match looked hopelessly behind by 55 pins. Now as he stands up in the 9th frame, can take the lead. $16,000 at stake.
Drawing that damaged right hand. Never any doubt we have a new leader of this final game, but it isn't over.
No doubt about it. Berardi just leaned on it all he could get. The pins never had a chance. You can find that ball out there behind the building. Nothing would stop that one. Great shot.
He opened and then put together 6 in a row.
Such an important shot for Pete Couture, not only to take the lead again in the match, but such a turnaround after having a tremendous lead. Let's see if he can come back. He can retake the lead with a strike.
A 3-time winner. Is this a tight one? We're at the King Louie Open Lanes in Overland Park, Kansas. 20th anniversary year of the Professional Bowlers Tour telecast, with 3 to go on our winter tour.
2 weeks in a row, sensational championship matches. Ellenberg and Anthony last week, Berardi and Couture. You just can't bowl any better. As Couture stands up, he can take and put a 16-pin lead on the board. If he can strike twice, he can actually shut out Berardi. But there's a long way to go. One big 10th frame. All the money on this shot.
Oh, 2-pin on the left lane.
He sends it wide. He trusted it. Almost got it back to carry a wall shot. Got the 2-pin with a spare and a strike. He'll have 240. He'll force Berardi to strike 1 time for the title.
And about every week, Bo, we've been seeing in all these years that the eventual winner has to earn it, has to work for it.
Chris, the point you brought up in the 7th frame when Couture got that very short 5-pin count and 8 out is really the difference in this match. If he had got 8 and 9 out, he would still been leading and had forced Berardi to strike twice. So count is almost immaterial at this time. Berardi needs 1 strike.
A big 240 for the tournament leader, Pete Couture.
Joe Berardi must strike on this ball for the championship.
That sounds so final.
It is. It's a tremendous sport. Just to be in this young man's shoes right now, such a traumatic situation. He's ready.
On the right lane.
Don Johnson, 1972-99, Chris, as you reminded of that shot there?
Oh. Joe Berardi with a 253 over Carmen Salvino with a 222, but Pete Couture, the tournament leader, shot a 240. So it's $9,000 for Berardi, disappointed Berardi, and $16,000 to the King Louie Open winner, Pete Couture. Let's go back to that key shot.
One of the all-time bad breaks I've ever seen in championship play. One ball for all the wheat. Solid in the hole. You can't throw it any better other than knocking all 10 of them down. A disappointed Joe Berardi.
Doesn't need a caption. All right, Pete Couture has won his 4th Professional Bowling Association title here in Overland Park, Kansas. We'll be back to talk to him